Notification came in at 11:47 on a Tuesday night and I almost didn't see it. I was already in bed, half asleep, when my phone lit up the ceiling. A Facebook post, tagged by my brother, public. I sat up. The post said, "Some people in this family are only out for themselves. If you're not willing to sacrifice for the people who raised you, maybe you should just leave. We don't need users. We need family. You know who you are." 412 people had already liked it. I stared at the screen for a long time, long enough that my eyes started to burn. Long enough that I read it 4 times, 5 times, just to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding something. That maybe there was another angle, another meaning. Maybe it wasn't about me. But I knew. I'd known the moment I saw his name. I put the phone face down on the mattress and lay back in the dark, and I thought, okay, noted, let me back up. I'm 29. I work as a paralegal at a mid-size firm downtown, the kind of job that sounds more impressive than it pays. I'm organized, I'm detail-oriented, and according to every performance review I'd ever had, I am exceptionally good at managing things that aren't technically my responsibility. That last part I learned at home. My brother is 4 years older than me. When we were kids, he was the one who got the new shoes when money was tight, because he was the boy, and he played sports, and boys need that stuff. I was the one who learned to be quiet about wanting things. My mother wasn't cruel about it. She just had a certain way of looking at the world, and in that world, my brother's needs were gravity. Everything else orbited around him. My father left when I was 11. That's when I started helping with rent. Not literally. I was 11. But I started understanding that being useful was how I stayed safe, how I stayed loved. My mother worked 2 jobs for a while. My brother, who was 15, did nothing, and no one seemed to notice or care. I did homework without being asked, cleaned the kitchen, learned to cook basic things. I told myself I was just a good kid. By the time I was in my 20s and actually earning money, the pattern was so deep I couldn't see it anymore. It was just the water I swam in. My mother moved in with my brother and his girlfriend 5 years ago after her knees got bad and she couldn't manage the stairs at her apartment alone. That seemed reasonable. What happened next was less reasonable, but it happened so gradually I didn't register it as happening at all. The first time my brother asked me to cover rent, he called it a loan. He'd had a slow month. He does freelance construction work, which is either feast or famine, and they were $300 short. I transferred it before I hung up the phone. He never mentioned paying it back. I didn't bring it up. That's on me. The second time, it was $800. Third time, $1,200. By the 3rd year, I was sending money most months. Not because anyone sat me down and negotiated an arrangement, just because my brother would text me something like, "It's been tight," or my mother would call and mention, in passing, that the gas bill was overdue, and I would feel that old familiar pull in my chest, that feeling that said, "You can fix this. You should fix this. If you don't fix this, something bad will happen," and I would fix it. I paid for my mother's new glasses. I paid for my brother's truck to get repaired when the transmission went. I paid for his girlfriend's dental work one time because she was upset and he asked and I couldn't figure out how to say the word no without it turning into a thing. At my highest point, I was sending close to $800 a month to that household while paying my own rent, my own student loans, my own everything, on a paralegal salary in a city that does not care about your budget. I had maybe $400 in savings. I was 30 days from broke every single month, and I told myself this was normal, that this was family. The thing that started it, the real thing, the thing that cracked something open, wasn't money. It was the coffee maker. My mother's coffee maker broke in February. She mentioned it on a Sunday call. I ordered her a new one that afternoon, had it delivered to the house, $52. It arrived Tuesday. On Thursday, my brother called me to say the coffee maker was the wrong kind. My mother wanted a different brand. Could I return it and order the right one? I said I'd look into it. He said, "She's really been looking forward to having her coffee in the morning, you know. She's not doing great." I said I understood. I went to the website to initiate the return. The return window had closed by one day. I would have to eat the cost and just order the second one. I ordered the second one, $68. Different brand. My brother texted me a thumbs up emoji. I sat at my desk and looked at that emoji for a long time, and something in me, very quietly, without drama, went flat. Not angry, not even sad, just flat, like a note that drops out of a song. I thought, I have been doing this for 6 years. I have sent them somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000. I don't have $400 in savings. And I just spent $120 on a coffee maker because no one in that house can process a return. I didn't say any of that out loud. I went back to work. But I started paying attention. March came and my brother asked for $1,400. He wanted to open a food stall, a side hustle, he said, something to stabilize income. He just needed a small investment to cover the equipment deposit. I said I needed some time to think about it. He said, I figured you'd help. You always do. I said, I know. I'm stretched thin right now. There was a pause. Then he said, You've been saying that for a year. You don't have any dependents. What are you spending your money on? I didn't answer that. I told him I'd let him know. I didn't sleep well that night. I lay in the dark and I thought about the question, what are you spending your money on? And I felt something that I hadn't let myself feel in a long time. I felt angry. Not the hot kind, the cold kind. The kind that sits in your stomach and doesn't move. I thought, I'm spending my money on your rent, on your truck, on your girlfriend's teeth, on 2 coffee makers. I'm spending my money keeping your house running while I have nothing saved. No safety net, nothing. And you're asking me what I'm spending it on. I didn't call him back that week. On Friday, I got a text from my mother. Your brother says you've been difficult lately. I hope you're okay. We're a family, sweetheart. We support each other. I read that text 3 times. I thought about the words, we support each other. I thought about how long it had been since anyone in that family asked me what I needed. I texted back, I'm fine, Mom. Love you. And then I made an appointment with a financial advisor for the following Tuesday. The financial advisor was a woman named, well, it doesn't matter. What matters is what she said to me after I showed her my income, my monthly outgoings, and the transfers I'd been making for 6 years. She looked at the spreadsheet for a while. Then she looked at me. She said, Are these to a business entity or personal? I said, Personal. She said, And you've been doing this for how long? I said, 6 years, give or take. She said, And do you have anything in savings, investments, retirement? I told her my savings number, the $400. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said quietly, Okay, let's talk about what we're going to do. I drove home and sat in my car in the parking garage for 20 minutes. Not crying, just sitting. I thought, this is the first time in 6 years anyone has asked me what we're going to do. For me. About my life. I went upstairs, I made tea, I sat at my kitchen table, and I thought for a long time about the kind of person I wanted to be in 5 years. In 10, whether I wanted to still be doing this. Whether family was supposed to feel like a debt you could never pay off. I decided it wasn't. I didn't call my brother. I didn't tell anyone what I was planning. I just got quiet and started doing things. First, I stopped the transfers. Just stopped. No announcement. No explanation. The month went by and I didn't send anything. My brother texted at the end of the month, Hey, did you forget? I wrote back, No. I'm taking a break from the transfers for a while. I need to focus on my own finances. He did not respond for 2 days. Then he called. I let it go to voicemail. His voicemail said he was disappointed. That he thought I was more mature than this. That our mother's utilities were due and she'd been counting on me. He said, This is not what family does. I listened to it twice. I noticed that at no point did he ask if I was okay. He never asked why I'd stopped. He didn't inquire whether something had happened to me, whether I'd had an emergency, whether I was struggling. He just told me what I owed them. I did not call back. 2 weeks later, the Facebook post went up. Some people in this family are only out for themselves. If you're not willing to sacrifice for the people who raised you, maybe you should just leave. We don't need users. We need family. You know who you are. 412 likes. I put the phone face down and I thought, okay, noted. Here is the thing about being told to leave. Some people would fight it. They'd make calls, send long messages, try to explain themselves, beg to be understood. I understand that impulse. I spent years operating from that impulse, that desperate need to fix things, smooth things over, make everyone comfortable again. But I'd been thinking for 3 months by then. I'd been paying attention. And somewhere in that time, something in me had reorganized. I didn't feel like fighting. I felt like doing exactly what he'd said. I was on the lease to their house. Did you know that? My brother, when they first moved in 4 years ago, asked me to co-sign the rental agreement so his application would be stronger. My credit was better. I'd said yes because that's what I did, and because at the time I thought it would never matter. It mattered. I called the property management company the next morning. I explained the situation calmly, clearly, like I was describing someone else's life. I asked what the process was for removing a cosigner. The woman walked me through it. She was very professional. She said the primary tenant would receive a notice that a cosigner was being removed, which would trigger a reevaluation of their lease eligibility. I said, "Okay, I'd like to start that process." She asked me to come in and sign some paperwork. I went in that Thursday on my lunch break. I also called my mother's phone service provider that week. The family plan. My name, my card. I requested it be converted to an individual account, mine, effective at the end of the billing cycle. My mother's line would be disconnected. My brother's girlfriend's line, which had also been on my plan for some reason that I honestly cannot fully reconstruct, would be disconnected. I sent my mother a separate text. "Mom, your phone plan is changing at the end of the month. You'll need to set up your own account. Happy to help you figure out how to do that if you'd like." She didn't respond. Then I called my car insurance broker. My brother's truck had been added to my policy 3 years ago because he'd gotten a rate spike after a minor accident and asked me to add him just temporarily. Temporarily had become permanent. I removed it. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and went through every account, every subscription, every financial thread that connected me to that household. There were more than I'd realized. Pulling them apart took 4 days. I made a list and checked things off one by one. The last thing on the list was the lease. The property management company sent the notice on a Friday. My phone started ringing Saturday morning at 7:04 a.m. I was asleep. I heard it, registered it, and closed my eyes again. By the time I fully woke up at 8:30, I had 23 missed calls. My brother, my mother. A number I didn't recognize. The unknown number had left a voicemail. I played it. A man's voice. Calm, professional, slightly tense in the way that people are when they're trying to sound calm but aren't. He said he was a property manager my brother had reached out to regarding a legal matter pertaining to the lease modification. He wanted to discuss my obligations as a cosigner. He left a callback number. I listened to the message twice. Then I called my firm's attorney consultation line, a perk of the job, and described the situation in brief. The attorney said, "You removed yourself as a cosigner through the proper channel with a management company?" I said yes. He said, "Then you're fine. You're not legally obligated to remain on someone else's lease indefinitely. There's nothing actionable here." I said, "Okay, thank you." He said, "Are you doing all right?" I said, "I think so." I made coffee and sat by the window. The city was doing its Saturday morning thing, someone walking a dog, a delivery truck idling at the corner. I watched it for a while. My brother called again. I watched the phone ring. I didn't pick up. By noon, I had 41 missed calls. I thought about the voicemail from the property manager. I thought about the word legal. I thought about my brother, who had publicly called me a user on Facebook, now apparently exploring whether there was a legal mechanism to make me keep co-signing his lease. I laughed. Just once, sitting by the window, a short, quiet laugh. I made myself a proper lunch that day. Pasta with garlic and olive oil, which I've been meaning to make for months and always talk myself out of because I'm tired. I made it. It was good. I ate it slowly at my kitchen table and I didn't look at my phone. My mother called on Sunday. I picked up because she's my mother, and some things you're not ready to do yet. She sounded tired. She said, "I don't understand why you're doing this." I said, "I stopped paying for things. That's what I'm doing." She said, "You took away my phone." I said, "I sent you a notice." "I told you how to set up your own account." She said, "I don't know how to do that." I said, "Mom, I'll help you with that. I'm happy to walk you through it. That offer is still open." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Your brother is very upset. The landlord sent a letter." I said, "I know. she said. He might have to move. I said, if the lease isn't viable without my co-signature, that's something he'll need to work out with the landlord. She said, where is he supposed to go? And I felt it, that old pull, the gravity, the sense that if I just gave in, just a little, just helped out this one time, things would be okay again. That I could fix it. I let the pull happen. I sat with it, and then I let it pass. I said, Mom, I love you, but I've been paying for that house for years. And no one has ever asked whether I could afford to or whether it was okay. I need to take care of myself for a while. She said, we're family. I said, I know. She cried a little. I stayed on the phone. I didn't change my mind. When we hung up, I sat for a long time in the quiet of my apartment. I thought about the word family and how differently people use it, how sometimes it means we love each other and take care of each other, and how sometimes it means we're obligated to us. I thought about which one I'd been living inside. My brother sent a text 3 weeks later, not an apology. I want to be clear about that. It was an explanation. He said the landlord had agreed to a short-term extension while he found a new cosigner or improved his credit standing. He said he didn't think I'd actually go through with it. He said some things about loyalty. He said my father had done the same thing, walked away when things got hard, and he hoped I was proud of myself for following in those footsteps. I read the text once. I put the phone down. I went and stood at the window again, which has become a thing I do when I need to think. My father left when I was 11. I'd spent a very long time making sure I was nothing like him, making myself small and useful and indispensable so that no one would ever decide I wasn't worth keeping. I understood, standing at the window, that this was what the last 20 years had been about. Not love, fear. I typed back, I hope things stabilize for you. I mean that. I didn't say anything else. I put the phone down and went to the kitchen. I had been meaning to get a plant for the apartment for a long time. One of those small, low-maintenance things that just sits on a windowsill and doesn't need much. I kept talking myself out of it. Too busy. Too tired. What if I kill it? On Saturday, I walked to the nursery around the corner and bought a small pothos and a yellow ceramic pot. The woman at the counter told me it was basically impossible to kill. I said, good. That's what I need right now. I carried it home and put it on the windowsill. I watered it a little. It's small. It doesn't do much. But it's mine. I bought it because I wanted it, with no other reason than that, and something about that feels like the beginning of something. I don't have all of it figured out. I still have complicated feelings about my mother, about what that relationship is and what it can be now. I still feel guilty sometimes in the middle of the night in that way that's almost automatic by now, like a reflex. I still sometimes reach for my phone to check if anyone from the family has called, and then I put it down again, but I also have $2,000 in savings for the first time in 6 years. I paid off a credit card. I had a dental cleaning that was just for me, for my teeth, because I hadn't been in 3 years because I'd been covering someone else's dental work. I bought a plant. And I am learning, slowly, carefully, the way you learn things that don't come naturally. I am learning that taking up space is not the same as being selfish, that loving someone doesn't mean being available to be used by them, that the people who built me to be useful to them are not the same as the people who want good things for me. I'm learning what the second kind feels like. My apartment is quiet in a way it hasn't felt before, not empty, not lonely, just mine. The pothos is doing fine, putting out a new leaf this week. I noticed it this morning while I was making coffee. The same way Natalie once noticed a poinsettia. Maybe the way you notice small things when you finally have enough quiet to see them. I whispered to nobody in particular, I think I'm going to be okay. And for the first time in a very long time, I believed it.